It's Paul Marsh here on Express, and I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by wildlife biologist Lizzie, Daly, and Francis Goodrum from the IFAW. Thank you for joining me, guys.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
So I'm a little bit worried about something, okay? We're going to talk about the 1 Million Actions campaign, okay? I'm kind of busy. I'm not sure I can do 1 million actions all by myself. I mean, I'll give it a go. I'll promise I'll give it a go, but I don't know if I can do 1 million on my own.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a very big ask. But I think, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head, really, because the 1 Million Actions campaign, although it sounds massive, and it will be massive, it's very much aimed to inspire collective effort across the nation. So the list of animal actions that you can do, which there's a detailed guide which lists all these top tips. They kind of include everything from really small actions to bigger actions, and they're very much an extensive list for people to make into their own. The whole campaign is really aimed to encourage and inspire everyone and anyone to do their bit. And a big part of that is, you know, making it fit into your day-to-day. And whether you have a garden, you could do something in your garden. If you love the seaside, you could go for a rock pool. It's essentially a really inspirational list to do your bit in whatever way you can.
I think it's a motto for life, really, isn't it? Because we all look at life and everything else that's going on in the world, and we think, well, what can I do? Because the problems are so huge, there's no way that I can do these million things on my own. But if 1 million people do one thing, it's done, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you raise a brilliant point, because I think we're overloaded with information through social media, which is at our fingertips, a lot of news. And I think a lot of people feel despair and apathy about the planet's future because there's so much, whereas this kind of action hopefully takes people into that space so they know that every action, small or large, can make a difference. And I think importantly, collectively speaks to power, and those, you know, with the power to change law and policy as well. So yeah, I think, you know, our view from IFAW is that, you know, wildlife and nature have always needed our help, but it's particularly now we see, you know, wildfires across the world and huge concerns. So you know, it is an urgent issue, but you don't have to be an expert to make a difference. So that was the thinking behind putting together this guide, and sort of simple actions people can take, from rewilding a bit of your garden to signing a petition.
Yeah, exactly. I think, again, another thing people think about, they think about doing these huge projects. I don't know, we're down here in Portsmouth, we're right down on the beach. So, you know, going out to the beach and doing all these big, massive projects. But you can start small. You can, like you say, you can start by signing a petition. You can start with your own back garden. You can make you know, some lovely places for the animals to live in your back garden, rather than, and we're all guilty of this, aren't we? We all want that perfect Instagrammable garden that, you know, looks pristine and everything else like that. But there are hundreds, if not thousands, of animals that all live in our back garden.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think rewilding is a lovely action because it requires very little but makes a huge difference. Yeah, we have hedgehogs visit our garden. There's so much you can do, rewilding a little bit of your garden, creating hedgehog friendly highways, providing you've got permission, don't just go knocking holes in people's fences. So you can Google websites to see what kind of food they like, so you can buy sort of special hedgehog food. There's so many small actions you can take that, and I think it's also reinforcing, like we're not asking people to sort of, you know, rewild their entire garden unless they'd like to, but it can just be a small part which can make a big difference to sort of the biodiversity in that space.
So I'll give you a little example. Myself and my wife, we moved into our house around about 2.5 years ago, and the entire garden is astroturf blocks and shingle. You know, really, really nice. So we got chickens around about 6 months ago, and what I did, the area around the astroturf, in which was shingle, I took it all up and I laid turf and put logs and other bits and pieces for the chickens, which of course is then going to breed more wildlife. Now, the aim eventually, you know, money and all that sort of thing, but eventually we're going to take that astroturf back and turf the bottom half of the garden.
Brilliant.
It's a lovely example.
Yeah, and it's little things like that as well. Is you can never underestimate even just a small patch that you've currently got now, like the power of an area like that. You know, you hear about, well, you never hear actually about the importance of soil. You know, soil has been described as like the skin of the earth. It's like the breathing surface layer to all other life, from, you know, everything from small invertebrates you never see to then to the supporting the flowers that support the pollinators, and having that connectivity of small wild areas can go such a long way in ways that I don't think we really realize. So, you know, it's all part of that guide, is it within these actions that you can do, that you have done yourself, can go such a long way, and can actually then also build that connection with the species that you see in your garden, and you feel like you have more ownership over that, and it kind of nurtures itself that way.
And also, we've got young children as well, and I feel it helps to connect them with nature a little bit more to have that in your back garden. Something else that we can do, obviously, you know, it's very important for our health to go out on nature walks, isn't it? As much as possible, get as much as the British weather will allow us anyway, to go out on these nature walks. One thing that I love that I've read on here is something we should be doing is identifying animal poo.
Oh yeah, that's a favorite of mine as well.
Tell us why we should be identifying animal poo.
I always think poo is the window into the world of the more elusive species. At least that's my in. No, I'm kidding. I think a lot of the species, the really exciting mammals that we have, the badgers, the otters, the you know, the foxes. How great is it that if we find a fresh poo, we're able to tell what that animal's eaten? You might learn more about its ecology. You maybe even realise that there's otters in the area. And if you ever smell otter poo, it's actually quite nice. So have a whiff of it. You know, don't quite get in there, but have a good smell. See if you can see any beetle cases or small little bones or fur or feathers. They tell a story about some of the more elusive and exciting species that we have in the UK. So it's a bit of a favourite of mine as well. A good choice.
Yeah, I would say as a mum, I think it's a great way of inspiring kids. Like my two sons, 3 and 7, their favorite book is called All About Poo, and it's about animal poo and this very topic. So yeah, it's a great campaign to share with schools as well, and your friends and neighbours, and on parent groups, because yeah, you can learn, as Lizzie said, so much about wildlife through poo, and you're building advocates, you know, in young children around nature and protection, which is why some of these kind of like more obscure actions can actually build that kind of great understanding of animals and wildlife.
I think we all know if we ask our children to go out for a walk in the woods, the response we're met with is probably not very positive. However, if you say to them, we're going to go out and look at poo in the woods, they'd probably be completely up for that, wouldn't they?
Absolutely.
There are so many other things we could get into. Unfortunately, we don't have the time. So if people want to find out a little bit more about the Million Actions, where can they do that?
They go to IFAW's website and Google IFAW 50 simple actions. You'll go straight through to the guide. If you do share an action and you'd like to put it on social media, we've got a hashtag 1 million actions. So yeah, we'd love to hear how people are getting along. And also just to note, this guide coincides with the launch of our Animal Action Awards in October. So we're going to be awarding 6 very special individuals doing major things for animal welfare and conservation. But the point of this guide is it's not just about awarding those kind of hero stories. Everyone can make a difference. So yeah, we'd love people to get involved.
Lizzie, Francis, thank you so much for talking to me. I really do appreciate it. I always enjoy a good giggle, especially when we're talking about something positive.
Thank you
so much.
Lovely to connect.